I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell politicians to give up the rooms. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth.
God, it's me. Can you hear my plea? Feeling like I'm lost in this world, can't you see? Demons creeping in, trying to take control of me. But I'm just trying to find the light, trying to break free. I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. But why you keep forgetting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feeling like I'm on a leash. Can't find no peace, can't find no peace. Living in hell, can't you hear my plea? I'm suffocating, can't you see? Why you let these false prophets roam free? While the well-run suffer, can't you see? I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Why you keep targeting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feel like I'm on a leash, can't find no peace.
Hardest battles, strongest soldiers, greatest burden, broadest shoulders, pushing up just like these boulders. This conflict like it's water, so this mercy, take my chalice, seeking grace through all this malice. All of these salty motherfuckers could give out.
Politics and sinners, they all the same.
Got me stuck in this endless game. But I won't give up, won't play the role. Gotta do what's best
for my soul.
I'm not perfect, God. Neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell these politicians to give up the room. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth. Living wild but truthfully free. God keep on watching over me. Take my pleas and keep the receipt.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. And, we'll get started. Independent music. So this is Sequence Clark, Hard Work, and this is Urban Conservative.
Nobody gon' give it to you, man, you gotta take it. Even though some of us ain't got no education. Some of us don't like what we do and some might even hate it. But now you got them bills and can't forget them babies. So ain't no way you can quit right now. Even if you feel like you might drown. You hold it down, 10 toes on the ground. You go and get it, it don't matter how. Or whether we whip it with our wrists just to feed our families. Or if we started a church just to lie to get the loot. Maybe we're out here chasing dreams that no one else seems to believe. We don't waver, no, we don't doubt, no. We just out here putting out some of that good old hard work. Mama told me never to give in. She told me never. Daddy was a natural born hustler. I guess I turned out something like him, cause I put in hard work. One day they gon' believe in me. No matter how much it hurts, I'ma never stop putting in that good old hard work. So many people, they depending on you. You just pray to God for help and hopes he sends it on you. Hopes he sends down his amazing grace. Work a miracle and make a way. Had to hop up off the porch and do it all by yourself. Friends, they turn their back on you. Some family won't even help. You still going strong. You still hanging on. Keep doing what you gotta do, no matter what you are. Whether we whip it with our wrists just to feed our families. Or if we started a church just to lie to get the loot. Maybe we're out here chasing dreams that no one else seems to believe. We don't waver, no, we don't doubt, no. We just out here putting out some of that good old hard work. Mama told me never to give in. She told me never. Daddy was a natural born hustler. I guess I turned out something I can't control. Hard work. One day they gon' believe in me. No matter how much it hurts, I'ma never stop putting in that good old hard work. Yeah. Hustle all day and all night just to get it, baby. Stack your money out to the sky, that's the mission. Homie, climb up out them trenches, go and get it out the mud. Might have took a couple losses, man, but that you what it was. But you're still blessed, cause you're still alive. Don't matter if you in the streets or working 9 to 5. Gotta stay on your grind. Yeah. Whether we whip it with our wrists just to feed our families, or if we started a church for Christ to get the loot. Maybe we're out here chasing dreams that no one else seems to believe. We don't waver, no we don't doubt. We just out here putting out some of that good old hard work.
That was Hard Work by Sequence Clark. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. This morning I got a packed episode for you. I got some good. I'm going to talk about midnight decrees, escape truths in the system on trial. It came out it's about to be the 5 years of George Floyd, since George Floyd happened. And I can't believe it's been 5 years. That's crazy as hell. But I want to show this documentary that Alpha News did about George Floyd. And it's about 20 minutes long. So I'm going to start playing this and I'll cut in between.
When a police chief doesn't want you to look at police body cam videos, then you know you need to look beyond the lies and see the facts for yourself. From the very beginning, many of our so-called leaders misspoke and misjudged what was necessary to keep the peace and let justice truly prevail following the arrest and heart attack of George Floyd.
I can't breathe, love it.
Police body cam videos were withheld. Lawyers engaged in lawfare. And riots, protests, and politics made any hope of a fair and impartial trial for the 4 accused officers nothing more than an impossibility. Even now, even after a defamation lawsuit filed by the assistant chief of the Minneapolis Police Department has been dismissed, police leaders, politicians, and the media are still warning all of us about trying to rewrite history by telling the facts. But we believe the facts should always speak for themselves.
I'd like to show you what's been received as Exhibit 17. Is this a trained technique that's by the Minneapolis Police Department when you were overseeing the training unit?
It is not.
And how does this differ?
I don't know what kind of improvised position that is. So that's not what we train.
All right.
Yeah.
As you reflect on Exhibit 17, I must ask you, is this a trained Minneapolis Police Department defensive tactics technique?
It is not.
When I heard that part of the testimony, I really wanted to get up off my chair and yell, "Bullshit."
Your police chief said on the stand that he didn't recognize that technique.
I heard him say that.
It's tough to hear people lie, just straight lie. And again, goes right back to, for me, the good and the bad, like the right and the wrong. And for you to be under oath and just straight lie.
You think that's cool though, right? What's your oh man, what's your badge number, bro? You think that's cool right now, bro? Bro, what is you, 1087, bro? You're a bum, bro, or 987, bro? You're a bum.
Yeah, I have your name tag, bitch. I'll try and get that.
987, you're a bum, bro.
I am appalled at the repetitive behavior of this coward and disgusted by the inaction and acceptance of the behavior by members of this agency. Such conduct is a disgrace to this badge and an embarrassment to what is truly a noble profession. It's not enough to condemn the actions and failures of the past. These examples show evidence of a systemic failure and a department's culture that totally lacked the ability to hold itself accountable to professional standards. The Minneapolis Police has a tradition to recycle the badge numbers that are no longer assigned to a current officer. This badge betrayed and so egregiously dishonored will be destroyed, and the badge number permanently removed from our rosters so that no future Minneapolis police officer should have to wear it.
I wanted to ask you about, you've written a couple of op-eds in the last few months. Most recently there was one where you very specifically called out Alpha News and Liz Collin, a reporter there, accusing them of rewriting history. I'm curious what made you want to put yourself out there and write that?
Well, I'm the police chief, and when people come after any of my police officers inappropriately, it's my job to stand up for them. I've got nothing against Liz Collin. I've read her book. I've seen her documentary. I think she raises a lot of valuable, relevant points. At the same time, it's no surprise that there may have been discrepancies with the case because no case is perfect, but it simply goes too far.
So the response after that from their attorney says, you know, we actually have photographs to prove that the sort of knee on neck tactic was part of the training of MPD. They have 34 sworn declarations from MPD officers. So how would you respond to that?
But that's not what we're talking about.
As you reflect on Exhibit 17, I must ask you, is this a trained Minneapolis Police Department defensive tactics technique?
It is not.
I don't know what kind of improvised position that is. So that's not what we train.
I know you're aware then of the testimony that took place in Derek Chauvin's trial specifically. When you heard all of these colleagues of yours, people who are your superiors, say that they were not trained or did not recognize the maximal restraint technique, what did you think about that testimony?
I know that I was trained in it. It was a huge thing that we did, and where the head goes, the body follows. We always would say that, and that was part of our testimony. We did it over and over and over for years. And to hear like the chief say it when how long was he even around at that time, and Katie, I knew Katie, she was our CSO on SWAT when she just started. So I knew her from the beginning of her career. And when she said that, I'm like, how can you say that? I mean, this is what we all did. We were trained in it over and over and over. And I'd done that technique numerous times, both in training and on the street.
Why did you then want to speak up and speak out?
It has to do with kind of everything going on. I'm just, the world's a great place. The United States is a great place to live in. And when you have so many things going on like this that, hey, listen, you got to give the good people the benefit of the doubt also, like you do the criminals all the time. And when you come in and you say something that is completely untrue, for whatever reason, that's what I can't figure out. Why would you say that? Are you trying to save the city some money? We did this. So we trained this. So, hey, this is the truth.
The Attorney General of Minnesota, the Governor of Minnesota, the Mayor of Minneapolis, even your former police chief, make this all about race. Do you think race played a role at all in the death of George Floyd?
Zero. Race has nothing to do with it. And you can go back and look at all of it. They never, I don't know if they even say it. It's just, they want to put it on race, and I think it was an agenda that's been coming.
What do you think is the most significant thing in all of this?
If you think about this set of facts, I think the most significant thing about it, and the most racist thing about it, was calling it racist in the first place. And I think we saw this interjected early on. We're talking about the Facebook viral video. There's a bystander, or let me play along with the mainstream media version for a second. You had a bystander who was black speaking to Derek Chauvin, Officer Chauvin, who is white, working alongside Officer King, who is black, and you had Officer Tao, who is Asian American, in between them. And you have this bystander saying something like, there's Officer Chauvin looking scared of minorities.
Bro, you're a fuck. First thing you want to grab is your mace because you're scared, bro. Scared of fucking minorities.
In that brief exchange is something probably that's the most significant thing here. And that is, it's not racism. It's the use of racism as a label, as a means of manipulation. And I think that's the biggest problem we're dealing with here.
In this case, you have pages of the manual that go missing. You have the body camera withheld from the public for months. Do you think if they would have just come out and told the truth about everything from the beginning, we'd even be here?
Absolutely not. Unfortunately, some public and some people are going to make their own decision. And they're going to probably still, it doesn't matter how much evidence you give them. But if that all comes out, no. The things would not happen in the way. That 100% of all that evidence is the autopsy. Some people are, I don't care about the autopsy. Well, how can you not care about the autopsy? It's all part of the evidence of the whole case. You bring all that out, lay it all on the table, let everybody look at it. And no, we're not going to be here.
So the truth really mattered here and they didn't tell it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But, just the way this country is going, it just makes me so sad that I don't know if it's ever going to change.
You were saying your wife is the one that said something was going on, but you sort of knew about it.
Right. She had woke me up early that morning. I had worked late into the night, and she brought in the video that was being disseminated by the media and utilized by the department as well at that point, showing what had transpired that night from a very limited optic of what really happened out there. And I looked at the video, and the video that I watched looked bad.
But yet you knew there was more to this, and you figured that would come out quickly.
Absolutely. I knew that hopefully that, other angles and other recordings were going to surface like they always do and always have, and that the truth would actually be told of what took place out there and not the messages that we were receiving by the media and hearing over social media.
Was there a moment for you, Ken, that you realized that wasn't going to happen here?
It was, I don't know what the word is I want to use. It was shocking, I guess, that we weren't getting more of that picture, not even internally. We just didn't hear or see anything more than what was being put out there by the media.
In a way, do you think that's what led to the riots?
There's no question in my mind. I think that video was the fuel that drove the anger and the narratives that were coming out from activist groups and from the media and from our own politicians and our own police chief at that point.
Did you feel betrayed in a way?
Yeah. Betrayal is one of many words, or one of many descriptive things I think that myself and all of the cops that dealt with that during the riots and that came in from outstate and came in to kind of assist us in that deal. With all the evidence that's out there that contradicts the narrative and the message that the politicians and the media and our own police administration was putting out there, it makes me sick.
So then it's October 2024. Katie Blackwell files a lawsuit against me claiming I defamed her in the fall of Minneapolis by using her testimony in the documentary. You were among dozens of current and former officers that came forward who offered a sworn declaration about her testimony, but why did you want to speak up and speak out?
Watching the trial, knowing some of what had actually transpired by that time once the trial came out, knowing the actions of the officers. When the verdict came out, I think it just gutted us as a profession. I sat and watched those trials, and with the testimony of people like Chief Arredondo, I think then Commander Katie Blackwell, Lieutenant Zimmerman, Lieutenant Johnny Murcell, that sat on the stand and, in my opinion, lied to the public about what transpired and about what training we'd had, made me angry and made me sick. And when I saw your case come up, it was outrageous. It was outrageous to me that Katie Blackwell would try to play the victim in any of this and create a lawsuit against you for the work that you had done. And to me, that was an offense to all of us, to the cops that endured that and worked those streets and worked the riots during all of that. She perjured herself on the stand, and there's no question in my mind that she did so knowingly. There's just no way that with the training that we'd all received extensively over years and years and years, and those exact techniques that we all used and were trained in, that she used and was trained in, that she'd sit on a stand and lie under oath. And she, Arredondo, Zimmerman, all of them, broke their oath. They broke the oath that they took as police officers. They broke the oath that they took when they got on the stand that day and held up their hand on a Bible and said that they would tell the truth. They broke it. And that made me angry.
We all know Frey ain't answering.
Can I help you? Hi there. I'm looking to speak with Mayor Jacob Fry, please. And you are? My name is Liz Collin. Okay.
Okay.
What did you want to speak about? You know, I'm a reporter and I have a few questions I've been trying to get answered for several years now, but there's been some recent developments I'd like to ask him about.
Oh, kind of development.
Okay. Just 1 second.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks. Hi, Ms. Collins. I'm sorry for the delay, but I checked with staff and they're in a meeting right now. I was told that he is booked for the rest of the day. You're more than welcome to fill out requests. Yeah, he doesn't get back to me. So the mayor is booked for the rest of the day and doesn't have time to answer just a few questions from a reporter. Is that right? He is booked for today that unfortunately will not be able to meet with you. I just need to ask him about these lies that have been told and repeated for years. You think he would want to set the record straight? We want his side. I know you have questions for him, and I hope you I can pass along that. I can pass along to staff that you're hearing your questions, and I'm sure they have your contact. Yeah, I guess we'll just go ahead and wait here because it does sound like he's there and just avoiding me as usual. So we'll go ahead and just. He is not in the building with Colin. I can assure you that. Did he just leave? I said he left before you arrived. Okay. Well, I expect he'll be back here today, so we'll just go ahead and wait. Thank you. Hi, Katie. Hi, how are you?
Oh, sure.
Fine. Yeah, actually, I have a few questions
What's
for you. Are you
Blackwell?
aware that 14 former and current Minneapolis police officers say you lied during Derek Silver's trial according to yourself?
Oh, sure.
What's the truth here?
Dropped her keys. Yep. I'm nervous to drop something.
The lawsuit filed has been self-developed because 34 police officers have come forward to say that MRT wasn't trained by Minneapolis Police Department. I've been trying to get in touch with you. You obviously declined my interview request. Don't you think people deserve the truth?
Yeah. Walking fast as hell. Katie did.
The world is run by those who show up and do hard work. Time and time again, Liz Collin has shown up, done the hard work, and she's done it with grace, with honor, with integrity, and with courage. Katie Blackwell didn't even show up to court today. That should show you exactly who Katie Blackwell is and how strong she thinks her case is. Thanks.
Also, over the last 5 years, there's been a little bit of revisionist history or telling the story a different way.
Yes.
I'm sure you've seen it.
Absolutely. And that is what we have to guard against. We cannot erase and revise history for our own feelings. We cannot do that. And
I don't know why nobody else, no other news covered that.
You know, one would think that the commander in charge of the training unit, who is supposed to be supervising and overseeing all training operations delivered by training personnel from the Minneapolis Police Department, and she would know darn well what training is delivered and what isn't.
What did you think of her testimony, Derek?
Oh, it's all right, perjury.
That's interesting. That is interesting. That was wild for news. I wonder why. That's crazy because I know the prosecutor and like Keith Ellison and Arredondo both wrote books about this, and that's crazy how we just get a narrative and not really the truth after like all these years. And I'm not saying that Minneapolis PD isn't racist, or I just feel like we've never honestly got the truth about George Floyd, and I'll be serious about that. I feel like we never did get it. We never got the truth. We never got what really happened. We all seen, different videos. We've seen that he had a very high, fentanyl in the system, but we also did see Derek Chauvin with his knee on his neck. That's something that there is video. It doesn't matter if it's the body cam. It doesn't matter if it's the, cell phone video. We've seen that Derek was in a position to potentially could maybe harm another person, because we've seen it done many times before. In the John Pope case, and Zoya Code, Jennifer Day, numerous other people, and it's crazy because the consent decree is made it into the news. Maybe everybody doesn't know, but it has. Trump has been talking about it. He's been somebody that is maybe ready to get rid of it. And I know that, Jacob Frey and Fry, whatever the fuck you want to call them, Brian O'Hara, they are liberals. They are, even though some want to call them moderate, whatever, they are progressives. And so you are going to see a lot of things happen in, our politics, especially in Minneapolis and especially in Minnesota as a whole. But I want to talk about the consent decree because that's what you're going to hear in this next little clip I played. And they're talking about the federal consent decree. Now, we know that we have a Republican president in office who is back to blue. Are we going to actually really see change, or is it just all talk? Just like how, a lot of people may feel that reparations is just all talk and just a lot of smoke.
The Trump administration could decide this week whether it will continue to pursue a federal consent decree with the city of Minneapolis and its police department. It was established in late 2024 during the last days of the Biden administration.
The consent decree mandates police reform, which came after the murder of George Floyd. With the federal consent decree up in the air, Fox 9's Simone Woolridge talked with the commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Human Rights about the status of the state consent decree.
So when you talk about a consent decree, you talk about digging into the city of Minneapolis and its police department. There's just a lot there. And there's a lot of red flags.
I can't believe this, man. Mama, I love you.
It was a thorough investigation. We did ride-alongs. We reviewed hundreds of hours of video camera footage, looked at a lot of data.
So I sat down with Rebecca Lucero. She is the commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. And I just wanted to talk to her to get a better sense of where we are right now with this state consent decree.
It's complicated. It takes time. It's going to take a lot more time. And I'm frustrated that we're not further along, but I get it.
So the state's investigation began just a few days, I should say, right after George Floyd's murder.
George Floyd's murder was very much the seminal moment that moved that investigation forward.
MPD's data shows that officers are more likely to stop Black community members for longer. They're more likely to search Black community members or their vehicles. They're more likely to cite black community members, force against black community members, and arrest black community members during a traffic stop.
This is a court enforceable agreement. This is not something that's just, you know, based on a promise, right? So this has to happen. There's a lot to go through within this document. You talk about specifically, I think the big one is policy.
We're still using the same use of force policy that we were using 5 years ago. That is very frustrating to me. It cannot be okay that we are still living under the same policies and guidelines that we know produce such horrendous race discrimination outcomes in the city of Minneapolis.
There's obviously systemic problems here. It's not just in the police department, it's in the society, it's in the city government.
And it can't just be all on MPD.
As we try to make those changes, let's not break things that are working well. Let's be intentional about what we need to fix, and let's remember that human beings are a part of these systems.
We can't hold people to new accountability standards when they haven't seen the policy, been trained on the policy. That would be unfair to officers who are hungry for this new policy.
So in the progress reports, and when you specifically look under policy, you'll see that a lot of officers are frustrated by the length of this policy manual. And officers, in their words, say that this is cumbersome. They don't have time to look through every single page of this document when it comes to what they should do. You know, if you're out there and you're an officer and you need to figure out if you're making the right decision, do you necessarily have time to go through all of these pages? And so officers are very frustrated by that.
It's really a perfect storm of challenges that the officers were facing.
The Minneapolis Police Department is still struggling in staffing.
We know that after the precinct burned, after the destruction of the city, crime and violence skyrocketed. At the same time, people walked away from the profession, and confidence and support from the police, for the police here, completely collapsed.
They have high turnover, inadequate staffing, and some of these positions are in oversight and accountability, and that's the struggle.
Many of them said how frustrated they were to see people not being held accountable for things that they knew they should be held accountable for. It wasn't good for the officers themselves. 1,100
cases had not yet been reviewed. Now, this could be when maybe an officer uses chemical spray, maybe when they use a certain pressure point technique. Those cases hadn't been touched either. Would you have certain cases, especially when it reaches the level of, if you're talking about something as severe as officer-involved shootings, these are, of course, cases that need to be reviewed. So when you talk about understaffing and not having the people who can properly review those, you have a problem.
There are really good people everywhere trying to do the work right, and they need the support to do that. They need systems in place to support them to do that.
That's why we have consent decrees. We have to be better at supporting health and wellness of our officers. We have to be better at providing them better training so that they're equipped to respond appropriately and give them better direction at what we expect.
The federal consent decree is still up in the air.
They're considering what they're going to do.
Oh, the city of Minneapolis is still going to be held to a standard because this is a court enforceable agreement. There's no take backs.
And it doesn't have any meaningful impact on us.
And so I think the big question is, we have this consent decree, we have these progress reports, but are we really seeing change 5 years later?
A lot of times community members will say, well, I don't feel like they're making enough progress, or even officers might say that sometimes, like, I haven't seen this yet. I want to see this come through. And so the work continues no matter what.
They just say that we're getting there. It might be frustrating getting there, but at some point we will get there. And they say you can't really put a number or put pressure on changing policy and changing culture. That takes time.
It's hard to see the progress because you're doing a lot of the foundational pieces behind the scenes.
And although it's frustrating because you wish you could speed up the process, but do you though? That's the thing, is you want to make sure that people are ready. You want to make sure people are trained. You want to make sure that people are in the right mindset. So when you get to the end of this, you are able to say that we are ready to go and that we will not experience what happened on May 25th of 2020.
And that was our Simone Woolridge reporting. Fox 9 will be covering the 5th anniversary of George Floyd's murder throughout the week. After George Floyd, 5 years, 5 stories. will air right here on Fox 9 at 9 o'clock. There will also be an hour-long special Thursday night at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Today we are setting up this Chick-fil-A employee.
Damn, that should be interesting. A special. I don't know what they're going to be talking about, but, you know, it's kind of crazy to be talking about the 10-year, well, not the 10-year, my bad, the 5-year anniversary of George Floyd and what has really been done, because not really a lot, you know, and it's like, how can we as people start to do better, right? Start to do better as individuals, start to do better as, you know, people. And I don't really think there's no one cut, one way solution or, you know, kind of answer. And I honestly believe that is what we're doing. So I want to go and I want to show the press conferences that they had after adjournment of the 2025 legislative session. Even though it's not over, they didn't reach a lot of the budget shit is still up there. They haven't reached it, but it's something that I do want to show because that is important. And I think that everybody in Minnesota should be watching this because it is going to affect your family. I don't know if it's going to affect it automatically, like right away, but it is something that could potentially really affect your family in financial ways that maybe you can't afford or yeah, I really don't know. That's really crazy. So where are the Democrats at? Let's get into the Democrat one. So here is the House DFL media availability.
Well, state government finance.
We have a little bit more debate to go. Well, it's a little bit disappointing that the session ends as it began with some really partisan antics on the floor. But that shouldn't obscure that it was a good day. We got some good bipartisan work done. The state government finance bill, for example, we've been working over the last 24 hours to get a military voting provision into House rules at the request of the Republicans. And so I think we need more of that and less of this. And hopefully over the next couple of days, we'll see some of the kind of work that happened earlier today to help to close up these bills. We've got a schedule tomorrow to start meeting with different groups of folks at 1 p.m. and going all the way through 6. That's what the schedule has on it now. We'll add people later in the evening as needed, and then certainly on Wednesday we'll be meeting again as well. We've given all of the groups that are not done until 5 p.m. on Wednesday, the 21st, to finish up their work. And hopefully at that point leadership doesn't need to take any bills from people, but hopefully we can give them suggestions that might help them close things up.
Did you have a heads up on this? What's going on here right now, and why are they doing this when this has been a bill for what, a week and a half? The Senate passed this.
I think it's disappointing. I really think we had a good day of work. Leader Damath and I were texting with Leader Murphy at 1 a.m. last night. We spent the last 24 hours, Democrats kind of bending over backward to accommodate a Republican request. So it doesn't seem like the right way to cap off a period of time when we've been starting to work together really well. I think some of these bills came together really well. State government finance is a good example. Environment's getting really, really close. Higher ed, you see, is done. And so we got to get on the train of working together, getting things done, and save kind of the partisan pot shots for when we're in campaign season again.
So would special session no sooner than Wednesday, because you're going to give all of your members time to figure it out then?
The hope would be that all the bills are wrapped by Wednesday at 5. The earliest a special session then would start would be Thursday. But more realistically, probably the earliest a special session would happen would be Friday. Just at the pace people are going. Taxes and E12 really haven't started yet because the Senate didn't pass a bill, and we didn't pass a bill in the case of taxes, so they're really starting totally from scratch.
How much is the immigrant Minnesota care issue going to factor into these final negotiations, would you say?
Well, that was unfortunately the linchpin for Republicans in the budget deal, right? They made it very clear that they weren't leaving the session without it, and we couldn't have a budget completed for the state of Minnesota without agreeing to that concession for them. And so that is in the agreement that we have reached. Certainly you've seen from Democratic members how inhumane they believe this concession that the Republicans wanted is, and that there's a lot of conversation still going on to try to convince Republicans to have a change of heart and look at people as people and not people as whether they're documented or undocumented.
How long do you think a special session might last if you get started Thursday or Friday?
Well, an agreement would limit the special session. It depends if we get participation of Senator Mark Johnson in the special session agreement or not. Republicans in the Senate would need to agree to suspend the rules to expedite a special session, to not give bills 3 different readings on 3 different days. So it really depends if the Republicans in the Senate want to help things go faster or not.
Is there any major...
Tell us about what your meeting with Governor Walz was like earlier today. Was it just kind of laying out the special session plan?
Just getting ready for the next 2 days and how we got to get her done.
Is there any major movement today on any of the provisions that were holding things up in any of those conference committees?
Environment got really, really close to finishing. I think they're letting the perfect be the enemy of the good right now, and people are just pushing to get the max when they're not going to be able to get the max. So I think people just need to get realistic and focus in on the budget portions of their agreement. If they can't get agreements on policy, they're going to have to set that stuff aside.
What is the sticking point in the environment bill?
They're talking about permitting. There's some good bipartisan permitting reform language. There's also some really Republican permitting reform language. And we can do some good bipartisan permitting reform language, but we're not going to be doing a one-sided Republican reform package.
I heard a lot of talk about the Inspector General. What's the status of that from your caucus? Because it's had some bipartisan support.
Sure. Well, we debated that when we were setting the budget targets. It was in the other bills category in the Senate spreadsheet, and we negotiated, from April 30th to May 14th. We don't have the $9 million for it. So ultimately, the Senate dropped it from budget negotiations when it was clear we didn't have the money for it. And Republicans in the House and Democrats in the House agreed we do not have the money for the OIG proposal right now.
How's the power sharing agreement going?
It's an interesting power sharing agreement, yes.
Well, do you feel good about it? I mean, how it's worked as you're nearing adjournment here?
That it would take me longer to think about and answer that question.
Can you just
It's been a bumpy road from time to time.
Can you just reflect, and this is perhaps going to yield the same answer, but reflect on the uniqueness of this session with it being the closest it has ever been between both chambers, 100 Republicans and 101 Democrats?
Well, the opportunity is to really be bipartisan. The opportunity is to team up and work together and to kind of step out of that normal Democrat versus Republican frame. Unfortunately, some people haven't accepted that invitation, so we're doing it kind of the old-fashioned way, which is a little bit disappointing to me because I thought it might be a different kind of session, and a little bit it's the same partisan baloney that we see often.
You set a deadline of 5 o'clock tomorrow. You used the word we. Who's we?
5 o'clock Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday, sorry.
Governor, Senate leader, and 2 House leaders.
Okay, thanks.
Can we infer that means Thursday's absolutely going to be the day that a special session is called?
No, I think it'd be more realistic to think it'd be Friday. It would be more realistic, really, to think it's probably, unless people start working a lot faster than they are right now, it's looking like between May 27th and the end of that week.
Would you guys consider going over Memorial Day weekend?
I think that'd be highly unlikely, but you never know. My attitude, what I said in the meeting with the other leaders today is that if their work isn't finished, they should have to work over the weekend, and so should we. So all of the leaders committed to being available for waterboarding the undone committees over the Memorial Day weekend. I shouldn't joke about waterboarding. It's late.
So would you?
I mean metaphorically, not literally.
So are you saying that
Minnesota Care for undocumented immigrants is still somewhat of an open question?
Oh, certainly Democrats, until the last gavel drops on the last minute of passing a budget for the state of Minnesota, Democrats are going to keep fighting to try to get Republicans to relent on that demand, yes.
Will you be voting? If they don't, then you're gonna have caucus, some of your caucus is gonna put up the votes, and have they given you, is your caucus going to put up some of the votes, and have they given you any assurances, Republicans, that they're going to put up enough votes to pass?
Well, it's a lot easier in the House, right? Representative Dameth needs 34, I need 34. It's a whole different deal in the Senate. But where we stand is we have a budget agreement. All of the leaders have signed it. I expect that all of the leaders will live up to the budget agreement. And we will certainly keep pushing to peel that provision out and try to get Republicans to be happy without kicking undocumented Minnesotans off of Minnesota Care. But we do have an agreement, and worst case, that's what we'll enact.
If it came to uphold that agreement?
Yes, we made an agreement, and we need to get it passed. People in Minnesota deserve a budget. There's a lot of people on Minnesota Care, and they all deserve to have Minnesota Care funded. So our caucus is not going to be standing in the way of funding state government.
If you were going to be the one vote, would you be worried about any challenges to your leadership of the House DFL?
Is the immigrant bill going to, the health care bill, is that going to come up separately?
We don't know yet. We haven't, we're meeting with health people tomorrow, I think late afternoon, after energy and environment, and transpo and commerce. So we'll probably have that conversation. Okay.
Thank you.
That's interesting, to say the least. And I know the Republicans did one as well. Lisa and Harry Niska, and I think Jim Abler jumped in there too. But it was kind of interesting to see both sides of the realm, Democrat and Republican, to sit here and talk about the end of the regular session.
We will see you back again, as we didn't quite get everything done. We made some really good progress and moving things forward, but there was nothing left at the desk. There were not any more conference committee reports to take up. There was nothing else for us to do. We literally cleared the entire, everything that was available to us at this time. Tomorrow morning, our conference committees become working groups, and the work will continue going forward. We have to finish this. We don't have a choice. That is what Minnesotans expect us to do. We will be able to get that work done in a bipartisan fashion. That is what is needed. We talk about that all of the time. Hard decisions still have to be made, and then we will come back when the governor calls us to finish up the work for Minnesotans and then get back into our districts.
When might that be, do you think?
That is up to the governor, but again, the working groups start already tomorrow morning, so there's no delay in the work that needs to be done. Those conference committees is what they were up until now at midnight. They were working all the way to evening, and they'll pick that back up in the morning, all of them.
There's so many weeks of negotiations over the global targets. What are the big points right now that are being debated, if you're able to share?
We just need the rest of the things settled up. One of the things that is going to be a little bit more contentious is that insurance for undocumented Minnesotans. Again, that change was made to end that for adults, keeping it going forward for Minnesotans. Want to make sure people understand, though, that is not ending the ability for those that are here undocumented to get health care. It just stops Minnesota taxpayers from footing the bill for the insurance for that.
Why bring up the OIG bill now after it's been ready in the Senate for a couple weeks?
The OIG bill is pretty important, and as you heard, if you were listening to debate, we could not move that forward in the House. It really got stalled out. From the very beginning of this session, when Republicans were here day one to get sworn in, and then the 23 days that we were here while House Democrats stayed out of work and didn't show up, we were still pushing on that fraud thing. Minnesota has record fraud. We know the governor supports even the bill that was heard. He said, if there's an OIG bill, put it on my desk, I will sign it. That bill passed with wide bipartisan support out of the Senate. We could not get it to move in the House. You saw that there was hesitation from the Democrats, and they prevented us from even debating the bill. We would have had time to debate that tonight. Fraud is something that has to be addressed here in the state of Minnesota. We have made great strides going forward. The fraud committee, the different things that we have done, different bills, the governor supports that. The Democrats say they want to address it, but their votes don't show that. So work will continue going forward. That protects the programs in Minnesota, that when dollars are going out to fraudsters, they're not going out to the people that are most in need. So it protects Minnesotans, and it obviously protects the taxpayers.
Yeah, I will just add on that. Representative Anderson introduced a version of that bill as House File 1. She's been working across the aisle and with the senators ever since the Senate was bringing forward that version of the bill and passed it. She's been trying to get House Democrats to do something other than having to bring it up the way we had to do it today. But this was the final moment for us to be able to pass this year, and we thought it was important to at least give it one last shot.
So does that mean it was House Democrats that were kind of hesitant about that, making it so that you guys couldn't bring it up until tonight?
To suspend the rules, we needed 90 votes. We only had 70. So we did have bipartisan support to bring that up. We just didn't have the full 90 that we needed.
Did you guys talk about this issue in the discussions with the governor? I asked because before the Senate brought up this bill, I asked the governor if he supports it, and he says he doesn't think it's the best use of the approach of what you're trying to do in tackling fraud. So I'm just curious, has he said something different to you about that?
This exact topic or bill, the topic came up with the governor, but this exact bill specifically didn't come up either for or against it, though.
Okay. He did say he was for it when he was in the House chamber giving his State of the State address. So we've gotten some mixed messages from the governor. That's been disappointing as well.
Do you think you'll do any work on this in the working group period before the special session?
There's still quite a bit that needs to be done in that working group to finish everything up. Fraud and preventing fraud in Minnesota is a topic of conversation. The bills are ready to go. They could be slipped in at any point in time during that special session.
Realistically, isn't this going past Memorial Day? It's already Tuesday tomorrow.
I was going to say,
why are you so negative?
I was going to say, thank you for telling me what day it is.
I like to think of it as realistic.
You know what? The governor will call it, as I said earlier, conference committees worked all the way up through tonight, the working groups that flips tomorrow morning, and we will push hard on that, working all through the day, whatever they need to do, exchanging offers. The governor will call us. We are ready to move things forward and get it done as quickly as possible for the people of Minnesota.
Can they meet in public ever? Because we have no idea what they're doing.
They will be able to meet in public, and they will work similar to a conference committee. They just aren't exactly a conference committee. But yes, that will be as public as possible.
Are any changes to the compromise on undocumented immigrants,
There's
healthcare?
No change to the global targets and that were agreed on.
Is anything on the table to change that
Nothing
at
has
all?
been discussed to any changes of what we signed in as leaders. Just last Thursday, there have been no changes to that agreement.
Consider any proposals to change that?
You know what? We had really great bipartisan conversations and support to get us to those global targets. There is nothing that has been discussed to be changed at this point.
Michelle has a question.
If necessary to pass that bill.
Good to see you. Good to see you back.
Good to be back. In order to pass that, are you willing to put up all the votes necessary from your caucus to pass that bill? I'm talking about the immigrant Minnesota Care provision.
What we're talking about is going to be the health finance bill, and as that comes through out of working group, conference committee, and then when we get that final bill, we will definitely be voting on a full health bill with the right provisions. It absolutely is, and that's where it's landed all along. That's Minnesota Care, and it is Minnesota Care as it has been.
Yeah, because
there will need to be votes from both sides in order to get anything out of the House, obviously. Michelle.
Do you anticipate lawmakers having to work over Memorial Weekend, the working groups?
Lawmakers are working really hard to get things done as soon as possible.
We're 4 minutes to midnight. How would you say the power sharing agreement went for this legislative session?
It is really interesting as you watched the stutter start, stop, start, the whole thing that kind of went through as we tried to get set this year. Nothing was exactly perfect. It was really hard, but I think the power sharing overall went very well. We had the one seat advantage for a number of weeks, and then when we went back to a tie, we absorbed that right away back to co-chairs and equal number of voting members in the committees, with the exception of the fraud committee, where we still hold that majority in there. But it did go very well. You didn't see as many things getting passed through, but the things that needed to made their way through. But there was already bipartisan support on everything that passed from committees because it had to be, and then what you saw pass off the House floor.
It went a lot better. It went a lot better than a Democrat trifecta went for the state of Minnesota.
Do you oppose having that go as a standalone bill? You want it to be part of
That definitely needs to be part of the health bill. Yeah, that's all part of it.
Because Senator Murphy thinks it has to be a standalone bill to pass.
We haven't had those discussions at all, but at this point, we know that it is part of the entire package, and that is what our expectation is.
What if it jeopardizes the passage of that larger bill? I mean, if you could get that done.
We need 68 votes to pass any bill off of the House floor. I believe that we have 68 votes at a minimum to pass what we need to off the House floor.
Both parties need to uphold the deal. That's the way that legislation is going to pass, is that both parties that signed an agreement uphold their end of the agreement.
So you're going to need Democratic votes is what
We
you're
always
telling
do.
me.
Here in this tied situation, we need 68 votes.
They're reluctant, needless to say, to put up those votes, and you know that. So are you asking for something else from them to get the votes so that they don't have so the budget gets passed, basically?
The global
ultimately.
agreement that we came to already that was announced on Thursday really did prove that we came together with some compromises and some of those priorities that came out. So I think we're in a good position to get the votes needed to move forward and get the work done for the taxpayers and the people of Minnesota.
There are a lot of parts of this budget deal that aren't what either party would want if they had had total control. We're all giving up something. We expect Democrats to uphold their part of the deal.
Speaker, do you have like an expectation on the number of Democrats that might support the health care rollback?
You know, we haven't talked about numbers either way, and the work goes on within our caucuses. And so as long as we have 68 votes to get things off the House floor, that's what we need.
Some Democrats have suggested, with maybe without going so far as saying it, that this was like your line in the sand. You were willing to shut the government down over this issue if there wasn't any changes to Minnesota care for undocumented immigrants. Is that a fair assessment?
House Republicans were very dug in the fact that we know $18 billion of surplus was spent over the last 2 years, $10 billion of taxes and fees raised on Minnesota families. What we wanted was to see a relief for families, and what that resulted in the state budget is the targets show $5 billion of reduced spending from biennium to biennium. So as far as people saying that we were going to go as far as shutting the government down, that was never a topic for House Republicans. That was not part of it. Going forward, we will get this work done.
Was the health care issue your top position in the negotiating room? Is that what you wanted most?
We definitely knew that we had to look at the fiscal conservative things that were missing out of the state budget over these last 2 years. We needed to reduce waste and fraud and reduce that state budget because of the...
I don't think they've done that at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, we sit here and we look at like the fraud that has gone on in Minnesota. Not much of it did they go through it. And that's kind of hurtful. I will say that is kind of like, it showed us, especially as Minnesotans, what they cared about and and it definitely wasn't about making a difference in our communities. And it's crazy that they want to go by calling people undocumented or documented. Is like, I don't even get that shit, to be honest. Yeah, I just honestly feel like we're not going to see any kind of, I don't know if there will be a compromise. You know, that's the one crazy thing about all of this, is that I don't think you're going to see a really, really good compromise, because somebody's going to have to, some person or some kind of, the Democrats or the Republicans, somebody's going to have to take a loss here, because I will tell you like this, is that you're either going to see that children, undocumented children, will be supported and get Minnesota care, because I honestly don't believe that you're going to get a budget bill done any other way. Even when it came to, they're trying to fix, they say 6, but I think it's 4 years of Democratic rule that we need to literally change. And I want to show you this. A lot of people, you know, in the Supreme Court, they were talking about the 14th Amendment, birthright citizenship. And does that go to people that were born over here and their parents are illegals, or let's say undocumented? So let's get into this, and let's say, what does the Supreme Court justices say about birthright citizenship?
President Trump's bid to end birthright citizenship is now in the hands of the U.S. Supreme Court. The issue was brought before the justices after several federal judges blocked his efforts to end the policy, ruling it unconstitutional. NBC4's chief political reporter Conan Nolan joins us live now to break it all down. Conan?
Basically, Colleen, this is the question. Should a federal court judge, say one in Los Angeles, have the ability to issue an injunction stopping a presidential executive order? And should that injunction apply to the entire nation? That was a question today over President Trump's effort to end birthright citizenship. Concern today from the justices of the U.S. Supreme Court of President Donald Trump's reinterpretation of the 14th Amendment regarding birthright citizenship. Solicitor General John Sauer defended the president's executive order stripping citizenship from those born in the United States to undocumented immigrants, and argued that lower courts, which had issued injunctions keeping that order from taking effect, had overstepped their authority.
I think what we have are lower courts making snap judgments on the merits that ignore the fundamental principle of the 14th Amendment, that it was about giving citizenship to the children of slaves, not to the children of illegal immigrants.
Sauer argued that a federal judge's ruling should not impact the entire nation, but just those individuals who filed suit. But most justices were skeptical. Conservative Justice Brett Kavanaugh was concerned about how this would all work in practice. Would hospital workers in one region be in charge of deciding if a baby was a citizen or not? And would they get a Social Security number? Justice Sonia Sotomayor saying under the president's argument, even a blatant violation of the Constitution could only be overturned by one lawsuit at a time.
Clearly, indisputably unconstitutional act, taking every gun from every citizen. We and the courts have to sit back and wait until every plaintiff whose gun is taken comes into court.
This from Justice Elena Kagan.
Does every single person that is affected by this EO have to bring their own suit?
Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Your argument seems to turn our justice system, in my view at least, into a catch-me-if-you-can kind of regime where everybody has to have a lawyer and file a lawsuit in order for the government to stop violating people's rights.
What the court will decide, of course, is unclear. They could rule on the authority of lower court injunctions while leaving the issue of birthright citizenship to be heard on its own at a future hearing. I'm Conan Nolan, NBC4 News.
That's interesting. I don't know if a lot of people understand what the 14th Amendment, and that's about citizenship, because, you know, this, I don't believe in my eyes that the 14th Amendment, that they wrote it to be talking about immigrants. In my eyes back then, because we are in different times, I believe that it was for citizens, for people that were born to slavery ancestors. I mean, honestly, I don't think that, because we have to look back at the times. Immigration wasn't a real big issue back then. You know what I'm saying? So you got to look at the words that they're using. You got to look at the context. You got to look at how they meant it. You know, we're sitting here debating in 2025. And a lot of this I blame on the Civil Rights Bill. That's what I blame a lot of this on. And it opens the door for a lot of rights and freedoms for other people. And I'm not saying that they don't deserve to be people. I don't want anybody to take what I'm saying as like, oh, he just one racist ass nigga. No, it's not like that. You know what I'm saying? But I do have to believe that you know, when I look at our Constitution and then I look at our country, we were started in a fucked up time. A lot of people that are here today that are walking on this earth don't understand that. Because to be honest, I don't know the context. I don't know what they debated about. I don't know what they argued about. All I know is that today I see Supreme Court justices, I see local courts, you know, state courts saying that, and it all depends on people's politics. Because it's of a Democrat, it's for, but is that really how they saw that amendment? Way back years ago, when we obviously didn't have that issue. You know, so you're trying to put something in context to an issue that they didn't have, that they you know, at that point in period, they didn't have that problem, but now we do. So you can't. That should be, in my eyes, right there. That should tell people that, hey, we need to go. We need to just put all this shit to the side and start over. And yes, I know people's views are really fucked up right now. I really do see it. I see people's views as like, you know, there's some people that you feel are that feel like certain people shouldn't get rights or shouldn't be citizens or shouldn't be. Listen, man, I'm not here for none of that. You know what I'm saying? What I'm here for is everybody to be taken care of and everybody to be loved and appreciated. I don't know about none of that. All this other, you know, rah shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I shouldn't really say what I'm saying, but like, it's, yeah, I don't understand it, to be honest. There's a lot of people a lot of things that I don't understand, or I shouldn't say understand because I do understand it, but I don't understand how we deal with it, how we go, you know, through it without. There's a lot of silence in our communities, and I agree. Not everybody has the same ideas, have the same ideology, but we all want a better community. That's one thing that we can all agree on, is that we deserve, that we think our streets, our community deserve better. It doesn't matter what side you're on, if you're Democrat or Republican, you know right now in the way that we're going down this road that it's fucked up. We're not going to make it because people are so divided. Even when it comes to this, we're doing no pardons for Derek Chauvin rallies. Like, come on, man. We got to think bigger than this. We have to think bigger than just our little world, because I'm going to tell you right now, the world is a whole lot more messier than just Minnesota, right? It doesn't matter if you just want to look at, blame everything at Donald Trump, because I will tell you like this, we as people allowed it to get this bad, right? Because we weren't educating others. We allowed this hate to continually go on, and we don't want to, you know, instead of justifying it, I shouldn't say justifying it, but we do a lot of NDAs in the settlements instead of actually facing the hard facts and say, hey, I can say this about Red Wing, about Minneapolis, about Duluth, Owatonna. I think a lot of people don't want to look at their police departments. They don't want to look at the services they have and say, hey, you know, we can't. How is it racist? How is it judgmental? Because when you look at it, you see, when they say blacks, you're seeing Somali Americans, you're seeing Nigerians, you're seeing Ethiopians, Pakistanis, people that they want to consider black, right? But when things happen to our communities, people are silent. That's one thing that I will never understand it, right? People want to talk about the racism and all this other things. Let's talk about the issues that goes on in the black community, because it is a problem. And everybody's not black. That's the whole, they don't have the same journey. I'm not saying they don't have the same story, but they don't have the same journey. My people started here with nothing. My dad's ancestors, when they were freed, they had to start with nothing. They couldn't read. So when people came in and started taking their property because of the color of their skin, because they were black, because our Constitution didn't think that they were equal people. That's facts. When our Constitution was written, they didn't see we, the people, as a part of those people, right? I'm not sure how many I don't honestly believe anybody that wasn't in America at that time. And if you weren't a slave, if you were white, if you had the freedoms, that's the way they wanted it. They wanted to be a white man only, that we have rights. No. How can you have all these other people here in America? That's the one crazy part, right? America started off white and black and with some Native Americans. We started bringing in other people. I should say we, because this is my country. We started bringing other people to pick cotton, to farm tobacco, to work on farms, to be silversmiths, to be plumbers, to be electricians. but yet we couldn't read because we had to do all of these things with the knowledge that we had up here, and that wasn't much. That wasn't much. So when they came and started to abuse our youth, we didn't know that they were really abusing them because we thought it was what needed to be done. But see, the problem was, even though when it came to the 1994 crime bill, they were tired of crack. They were tired of cocaine taking over neighborhoods, because if anybody remember North Minneapolis, it was crazy in the early 90s. Even in Watts, California, Detroit, Chicago. And what has gotten worse? Every area, every black area has gotten worse. It haven't gotten better, because I'm gonna tell you like this: we have too many people that come out here and say they're our leaders. They get taken care of to make sure that their bank accounts change, but not our communities, not our neighborhoods. But yet they'll work a nonprofit in our community, but they won't live in our community. Make that make sense.
On the run, we know now at least one family is in hiding. Escapee Derek Groves was convicted of killing 2 men on Mardi Gras 7 years ago. We talked with family members of one of those men, and they're stuck wondering how this happened, why they didn't find out sooner, and what they can possibly do next. Here's Rachel Hanley.
Wednesday, Jamar Robinson's family celebrated his birthday. Love you, miss you. 2 days later, they were in hiding after finding out that the man convicted of his murder had escaped from prison.
Just get all our family members out of the city. We had to get everyone out of the city. Didn't know what way we was going, where we was going, crying, devastated.
2 of Robinson's family members spoke with us over the phone. They asked not to be named for their safety. Robinson and another man, Byron Jackson, were shot and killed on Mardi Gras in 2018. Derek Groves was arrested for their murders. Late Friday morning, someone they knew called the family and told them that a group of inmates had broken out of Orleans Justice Center. Groves was one of them.
No one notified us. No one tell us anything. You know, we had to leave work. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know how Derek Groves felt like with this process of us. You know, either he was coming for us. We didn't know.
They say they went to a nearby police station and 2 officers escorted them home. They grabbed what they could, got the family's young kids, including Robinson's son, from school. Then they left. By that time, Groves had been out for hours.
We just didn't know what to do at that point. And I'm so angry with all these Paris prisoners, because it's like, when I look at the news, I see the boys pulling on the door. Like, this prison was just recently built. And you mean to tell me the doors were that easy to pull apart?
And this is a family that was already exhausted. Groves was convicted of killing Robinson and Jackson in 2019. But the jury wasn't unanimous, and a Supreme Court ruling ended up throwing out the verdict because of it. The next trial in 2023 was declared a mistrial. The next one, later that year, ended with a deadlocked jury. Then, finally, in October of last year, Groves was convicted again. His sentencing was set for July.
It's just crazy. It's like a soul that's not being healed. Because every time we move on from this, something come up.
Now, with Groves on the run, Robinson's family is trying to figure out what to do about their jobs and the kids' school. They're planning to stay hidden while they wait for justice again. Rachel Handley, WWL, Louisiana.
That's crazy.
And take a look on your screen. This is a photo of the inmates.
So that is the people that broke out of New Orleans jail. That's crazy. You have people that are out here that, that's wild.
NOPD told us yesterday that anyone who was a witness in any of these escapees cases or has any other reason to fear one of them, they should contact them for help. And again, 3 are back in custody and have been transferred to state correctional facilities outside of New Orleans. Now, if you see any of them, you're asked to call 911 right away. And we will have continuing.
I know that, I just want to show the picture again. I think Lenton, whatever one, he was caught. So they got 4 and there's still 6 that are out running around. So Derek Groves, Gary Price, Antoine Massey, Corey Boyd, and I believe Jermaine Donald and Leo Tate, because I think it was Lenton Van Braun, who was incarcerated or who got caught. Yeah, so here is a story up. Here is a story. Let me see if I can play it real quick. Because there was some that he did.
As we've learned, that fourth inmate
Oh,
was
so
captured
Gary
in
Price,
New Orleans
my
East
bad.
tonight.
That's right. WDSU reporter Jasmine Franklin is live tonight with more. And Jasmine, you spoke with people who witnessed this arrest. Tell us about it.
Yeah, this shit wild.
So, Gina, people who live in the area where the arrest happened say they were really just shocked and surprised to see the state police and SWAT teams right
What's up?
outside of their homes as 21-year-old Gary Price was taken back into custody.
It is a little jarring to know that it was so close to home.
Romel Smith says he has lived on Good Drive in New Orleans East for 6 years. He was shocked to see a large police presence right outside his home Monday evening.
I literally just saw something outside of my door. It's like, it was quiet when they came in, so I stepped outside and my neighbors across the street, they were out, and we were just like, what's going on?
Multiple law enforcement agencies assisting in taking inmate Gary Price back into custody. This video showing the moments the 21-year-old was captured in New Orleans East after being on the run for 4 days.
This is one of those situations where I would say was an absolute benefit. The coordinated efforts between the state and of course the city.
Price is now the 4th inmate found after escaping from the Orleans Justice Center Friday. Multiple escapees still remain at large as hundreds of law enforcement personnel continue to search the area.
Like you could see, 5, maybe 6 on the footage.
Dale Corcoran is manager at Bierman Precision. The tool shop sits along I-10 in the area where several inmates ran Friday morning.
Never in my farthest, dreams or nightmares would I have ever envisioned somebody running across the interstate from the prison like that, no.
He tells me employees are using extra caution, knowing some of the inmates escaped near his business.
It's just been, one of those things where you kind of have to just be more vigilant, and if you see something, say something.
And neighbors say they are confident police will find the remaining escapees.
I anticipate that they're going to find them all over the city. It doesn't really, they go where their family is.
Right.
And state police tell us hundreds of law enforcement personnel will continue working around the clock until they find the remaining escapees. Reporting.
That's wild as hell. That's like shit we see on TV. Wow, that's fucking ridiculous. That's crazy. I want to talk about a little bit. There was an investigation that Carrie Levin did into fraud over at Empathy Home Care. So I wanted to play that because obviously, waste and fraud is a big thing here in Minnesota. And again, here's another one that they have found to be wasteful and to be fraudulent.
Well, 3 group homes in Crystal are now under investigation by the Attorney General's Medicaid Fraud Unit and the Crystal Police Department. And there are some egregious accusations of maltreatment and questions concerning potential fraud. Lou Raguse discovered the newly filed search warrants and joins us now with the story. Lou?
Julie, there are 90 group homes in the city of Crystal, and police tell me the ones run by Empathy Home Care get more police calls than the rest combined. And now there are investigations into potential fraud and maltreatment.
Investigators from the Minnesota Department of Human Services here visiting Empathy Home Care in Crystal after police last week raided the company's 3 group homes operated in the city.
It came to attention for us because we knew that we were getting called back to the same residents for the same issues.
Assistant Crystal Police Chief Brian Hubbard says their department, in a 14-month span, received 452 calls for service.
Is that like an astronomical number? Yes, clearly would suggest that there's a problem there somewhere.
Crystal Police has already been involved in maltreatment investigations. State records show 2 findings of maltreatment substantiated by the health department, including one resulting in death. On top of those, last July, Hubbard says officers responded to this group home on Colorado Avenue for a woman who overdosed. He says 31-year-old Shayla Brown died and that the Empathy Home Care staff member working that night didn't even attempt CPR, nor was trained in it.
Certainly you would expect in a facility like that, you certainly would expect that they are going to attempt life-saving measures. I would argue this is probably part of what you're paying these people to be able to do.
Empathy Home Care CEO Fatou Diallo in November signed this agreement with the state board to cease and desist from being an assisted living director while she appeals maltreatment findings. The latest investigation involves the Attorney General's office, according to multiple search warrants filed publicly after Crystal Police raised questions about billing for Empathy Home Care, which brings in about $6 million each year through Medicaid reimbursements.
We believe that the company was billing for days when we know the individual wasn't there because they either had been reported as missing or were in a hospital facility.
Now, according to the search warrants, the death of Shayla Brown is being reviewed by the Hennepin County Attorney's Office as possible criminal maltreatment.
Wow.
And another death resulted in a wrongful death lawsuit that was settled. No criminal charges have been filed against Empathy Home Care or its owner, Fatou Diallo. Now, she refused to comment today.
So now they just continue on while they're under investigation, or does anything happen?
It hasn't been closed down yet. That would be up to DHS, Department of Human Services, because they license them right now, but they are active right now, although Diallo is supposedly not supposed to be running any of these places because of an order that she signed.
It's an alarming number of police.
That's crazy. You know, I don't understand how we have all these issues in Minnesota and people act like it's nothing goes on. If you're tired, because I really honestly don't believe, and maybe, you know, the more I think about how I grew up and how I was raised, I think about, you know, Black Duck, Minnesota. I think about Bemidji. I think about how Minneapolis used to be. I remember we used to be able to play games out in the streets. You can't do that no more. People drive like idiots. You know, I remember there wasn't the diversity we have now. But people got along. Maybe I just didn't look at the problems we did have of like why some people are poor, why some people are rich. I wasn't really looking at none of that. I just wanted to get mine. And now I see, after all the things that, you know, being in prison and having the journey that I've had, I see a bigger picture, right? I want to get, that's why I proudly wear Make America Street Safe Again. You know, yesterday my doctor, that's why I didn't have no episode yesterday, was that I had a doctor's appointment. And you know, I wear my Make America Great, not America, I don't know why I just said mega, Make America Street Safe Again. I wear that everywhere. I wear my, you know, I want people to rejoice. I want people to be happy. But we ignore so much despair in our communities, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why we look at things that go on in our communities and look like it's okay. Look at it like it's a thing that we can bypass, a thing that we can get past. No, it's not. We have to have that discussion, or it's only going to get worse. If we don't deal with something, like if you don't deal with the racism, like let's say in Red Wing, Minnesota, they have racism up the ass. But if that's not something you're willing to get rid of, to eradicate, you're never going to get rid of it if you don't hold people accountable. And it's, to be honest, Red Wing has a history of not holding people accountable. Let's be honest. I mean, just yesterday or this weekend was Olivia Flores. Say her name. Say her name. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, though, I hope everybody has a great Tuesday and enjoy the rest of your day. You know, we talked about the great escape down in New Orleans, Louisiana, with all the inmates running around rampant. There's 6 remaining. You know, justice for who? We talked about birthright citizenship. We talked about midnight deals and budget shell games. That's with our legislator. You know what I'm saying? That we have to look at our legislation and be like, hey, we have a problem, and not point the finger at all these so-called entities, but let's start being accountable. Let's start being responsible for the things that we have done. You know, and we talked about the consent decree. You probably will hear this week if they will have a federal consent decree, or if they won't. And then we also talked about, you know, the 5 years since George Floyd. It's been 5 years, you know, coming up on the 25th, there will be a lot of activities going on. In 3 days, they start the memorial for George Floyd. I won't be participating in the activities. That's not people I fuck around with anymore. And I'll be honest, people like with BLM or NAACP or these different organizations, I don't mess with them anymore. There's a lot of them that I don't mess with, and I don't pay them any type of, I just want to see our community get better. So with that being said, man, I want everybody to have a great Tuesday, and I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell. Wish me well, and I will see y'all on Wednesday morning. Peace out. One love. This is crazy, but
Never thought we would ever be more than uprising memories. Now I'm all confused because I have deeper feelings. Thought it was cool to cross the line, and I was convinced it would be all right. Now things are silent, nothing's the same, and I really just want my revolution back. And my mind's gone crazy because I can't get away. Can't get you out of my system. Saying my mind's going crazy because I can't get away from you. And I'm wondering if it's worth me holding on to the sight of justice. I'd hate to walk away from this, as if they need them kill a black man. Because when I marched the moment after, I looked at the world different. Yeah, for George Floyd, we at they neck literally. For Tyree Nichols, we gon' skate his memory. For Jalen Walker, we gon' block the roadways. For our ancestors, we gon' make them say your names. I matter, Adam matter. I matter, Rihanna matter. I matter, Mo matter. I matter, Near matter. I matter, Micaiah matter. I matter, LaShawn matter. I matter, Jada matter. I matter. Capitalism, money, and power. You feel me, right? Save me, nigga. There is a coordinated revolution happening across this nation, and we are in a state of crisis. Black people are dying in a state of urgency. It is not a test drill. They being merciless, acting brainless, so let's start the simplifying. Rashim called for his mama. You gotta know all black brothers and all black sisters